Beginning in verse 10, we find the cover-up. Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying, It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he has turned back from following me, and hath not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. God's prophet was grieved at the sin of Saul. He was grieved at the results of that sin. Samuel loved Saul. And so he spent the whole night praying to God about it. And I think that's something important that we not overlook. Yes, it was Samuel that came and delivered this judgment to Saul. But Samuel did it because he loved Saul. And we need to be sure that we keep that same attitude when our own brethren go astray. Verse 12, when Samuel rose early in the morning to meet Saul, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and has gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And so verse 13, Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed be thou of the Lord, I have performed the commandment of the Lord. Really? I've kept God's command. I went and fought against the Amalekites. I killed them. I destroyed that nation. Really? Samuel said, What meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? Verse 3, he was told not to leave anything that breathes alive. To kill all the animals, all the men, all the women, all the children, everything, kill it. And Saul says, he comes and he says, I kept God's commandment. Aren't you proud of me? I followed God. Oh yeah? What's these animals that I hear? In verse 15, Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen. It wasn't me. It was the people. It was everybody else. Saul's passing the buck here. But who did God give the commandment to? He gave the command to Saul. It was Saul's responsibility to make sure it got done. Maybe the people did do it, but it was Saul's responsibility to stop them and say, hey, no, that's not what God told us to do. And similarly, as Christians today, we all have a personal responsibility to get ourselves to heaven, but also to try to get others to heaven, and to teach those, to restore those brethren who are falling astray, those who have gone off the path, to, in a loving manner, correct them. And those who have never become Christians, it is our responsibility to take the gospel to them. And so when we stand before God on the day of judgment, we can't say they. No, it's me. It's my responsibility. It's your responsibility. Saul says they. And here's the reason. We kept the very best, but we weren't going to keep it for ourselves. We kept it to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God, and the rest of it we have utterly destroyed. We've kept it to sacrifice to the Lord. Well, that sounds like a noble cause. How often is that argument used today? Instruments of music and worship. Well, you know, I know that that's not in the Bible, but it sounds so pretty. And so we're just going to use it to sacrifice to God. We're going to use it in our worship to God. So many applications we could make of that here. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 3. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 3, we're told the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding both the evil and the good. And so Saul, he comes up here trying to pass the buck. Do you think it's going to work with God? Do you think it's going to work with God when you stand before Him on the day of judgment and try to pass the buck? No. He knows where you've been. He knows what you've been doing. Not only that, Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 10, we're told, I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. He says, I search the heart. I don't only know what you're doing, I know what you're thinking, I know what your emotions are, I know what your feelings are, I know your motives. I know I'm God. And since God knows these things, we can't hide, we can't run. And I think so many times we think we can. We can pull off a good appearance. So often it's easy to hide sin from our brethren. It's easy to hide it from those in this world that care about us. And they all think we're doing great. But really, what have we accomplished? We fooled them and we fooled ourselves, but we haven't fooled God. And so that's a dangerous game that we play, trying to hide. And passing the buck does not work either. Ezekiel chapter 18, verses 20 through 23, we find that your sins are your responsibility. Your parents will not be held accountable for your sins. Your children will not be held accountable for your sins. You will be accountable for your sins, for the things that you do that's against God's will, or like Saul here, the things that he didn't do that God commanded. Because Saul didn't kill the king. Saul didn't kill all of the animals as he was commanded. He didn't destroy all of the enemies of God.